Hello, I'm Dr. James Bogash, expert in health and longevity, and today we're going to talk about a study on another interesting procedure that is likely to have the same effects as gastric bypass surgery. I covered a couple months back, probably 10, 11, almost a year ago, a study on something called duodenal mucosal resurfacing. Duodenum is the first part of the small intestine, or duodenum. I'm not quite sure. I personally prefer duodenum, but that's just me. And these all boil down to the fact that we're not quite sure how something like gastric bypass can have very rapid changes in, so if somebody's diabetic, they can have the surgery done and become not diabetic in a very short period of time, which also begs the question of whether or not diabetes can be cured. We never say that, but essentially you can become cured of diabetes if you make the right choices. But gastric bypass changes what happens in the first part of the small intestine, right after the stomach. We're not sure if it has to do with hormones, if it has to do with nutrient sensing. We don't really have that answer just yet. But one thing's clear, gastric bypass surgery does change the physiology in the way we handle blood sugar. Now, I think it's an awful idea, so let's get that out there. It completely changes the way your gut works for the rest of your life. So these other procedures, like a duodenal mucosal surfacing, where they kind of go in and rotor out the first part of the small intestine with, as of now, good results. This is another similar procedure, and it's called a duodenal jejunal bypass liner. So essentially, they just put a sleeve in the first part of the small intestine, and they anchor it down with a titanium anchor. So the first part of your small intestine, the duodenum, is not doing anything. Everything just moves right past it. And in this study, they looked at people with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease or fatty liver, and the response was good. Interesting enough, this procedure's been around for at least a decade, and I had never heard of it until this study came out. But the bottom line is that we're getting some other procedures that might have the same effects. Now, I am a lifestyle guy. I think people should make the correct choices with their diet and exercise and stress management. And if you do the right changes, you don't need these surgeries. But if we're going to do something like that, then something like the mucosal resurfacing, which I think is a kind of a cool idea. The challenge with the sleeve, the liner, is that there are a relatively good chunk of people who have this done, have it removed for abdominal pain, or the sleeve detaches and kind of slides down, but they're able to take it back out. And by the way, it's a non-invasive surgery, so I believe they go in through the mouth, so nothing's cut in the abdomen. But they can go back in and remove it, and those side effects go away. So the side effects are relatively minimal, certainly less than what you're going to get with a gastric bypass surgery. So just another interesting thing that we're doing, but it also goes to show how much of a role the small intestine plays in things like diabetes, obesity, and fatty liver. So, as always, I'll post a link to this particular study in the description. Make sure you like this video, share it with somebody who you think needs the information, and subscribe to the channel.